All right, welcome to the Chopping It Up show. I'm your host Joe Beer. Happy to be of service for you today. Today is January 12th, 2025. It is 3:11 on the West Coast and 6:11 on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live. Whether you are listening or watching live or through one of our profiles, one of our platforms, we appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. So today we have another great guest, someone I just met when the boom was out here for the Rose Bowl. Still really proud of that. And so we want to talk about um, the principal at the high school where the boom was practicing. And actually, we'll get into the story and we'll get into all of that. But we're here with the principal of Inglewood High School, Dr. Lamar Collins. How you doing in this podcast?
I'm good. I'm good, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. I got to tell you, when the Sonic Boom came, man, what an amazing event that was. So glad your band was able to just pour into my kids. I got to tell you, more important than them practicing with my kids were the things they said to my kids. So big ups to the Sonic Boom.
Yeah, man. I was actually talking to Dr. Little about that. The students, they did a good job, like, on the field and on the street and everything, but definitely they carried themselves really, really well. So
Mhm.
I was really proud of them for that, especially as you get older, you start to see like the importance of growing up and all that stuff like that. And I wasn't tripping about that 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But how they behaved was really, really important. I know
Right.
you talked about that. I know we talked to Dr. McGee. We'll probably be talking to her on the show as well. But everybody was saying that your band director, they were just talking about the discipline. And
Hmm.
so that was really, really, that was good to hear. So yeah, so we'll get into it. Definitely gonna be reaching out to you for this spring, a little teaser here about our National Signing Day. So we'll get into it all. But always the first question, where are you from?
Norfolk, Virginia, home of NSU, Norfolk State University Spartans. I wish I would have went there, but my mind was in the right place. But yeah, Norfolk, Virginia, man, and now I'm on the
Okay.
West Coast.
Okay. So are your parents and all your family, are all of them from Virginia?
Yeah, so we're a part of a tribe. The tribe is actually New Jersey, but they kind of migrated down. Have Native American roots, and that's kind of where they settled at in Norfolk, Virginia. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So now, um, like you said, Norfolk, Virginia, and then you said Norfolk State.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. Because I know you and I talked, I was right after. I think they hired Michael Vick
Mike Vick. Yeah.
a couple weekends ago now. So we
Yeah.
were talking about that. And then we talk about Deshaun Jackson.
Hmm.
We talk about all of that. So what would you say was your first HBCU experience then?
Yeah. So in high school, I wasn't in the band. I was I was an athlete. wasn't a great athlete, but I did play sports. And track was one of my favorite sports. I ran track, and my coach came in and said, "This year, if you do good, you'll end up at the Hampton Relays." I'm like, "Okay, Hampton Relays. That sounds good." We had been to the Penn State Relays the year before, and now we're coming home to the Hampton Relays. I went to the Hampton Relays, and Joe, I just remember seeing like black excellence. I'm used to high school track meets, and kids are playing around and nobody's taking it seriously. But I'd never seen so many black people in college, to be quite honest. I just didn't
Right.
know there were this many black people in college. And again, I just remember the professionalism and how serious they took their craft, and just, it just left a mark on me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You definitely see the pin relays. And that's
Yeah.
cool. You ran track. I ran track myself.
Okay.
I actually was just put into my high school's Hall of Fame in 2021. Because yeah, thanks. So because our boys and our girls won state 3 years in a row, and that had
Wow.
never been done in the state of Missouri.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I remember you said you ran tracks. I was like, okay, I definitely gotta have him on the show.
Yeah.
Uh and then you talked about the Hampton relays. I know I saw the pin relays on
Hmm.
TV because they broadcast those.
Yeah.
But the Hampton relays, that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah.
What did you run when you were in track?
So I ran 1, 2, and 4. Yeah, wherever I could qualify. Like I said, I wasn't a great athlete. I was just a guy that was fairly athletic but loved to compete. And so every week we kind of have runoffs, and whatever event I could squeak in for that week, that's kind of where I ran.
Okay, okay,
But
that's
but
what's
po-
up.
yeah, but pole vaulting was my main event. I was a pretty good pole vaulter.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So I mean, you talk about black excellence. Ain't too many brothers
No,
doing the pole vault. You know.
no, no. We're not jumping on that stick. No, we're not
Right,
doing that. But
right,
yeah, that's what
right.
I did.
Okay, all right. So was high school the first year you got into track?
Yeah, yeah. Growing up, football and basketball was kind of it. When
Right.
I played, I love. My mom was a tennis player. She loved tennis. So as a young kid, I grew up playing tennis. But when I got to high school, they was like, "Nope, you're running track." And so yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then, like I said, I wasn't the fastest, so I couldn't qualify for a lot of events. But I wanted to be a part. And I'm like, "Coach, what do you need somebody?" He said, "Well, if you can learn how to pole vault, you'll be at every track event." I went over there and learned how to pole vault.
Right, right, right. Okay. That's cool, man. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so my dad played tennis.
Okay.
Yeah, and he even played at Jackson State.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool, man. Okay. So you talked about your background. Now, what high school did you go to?
I went to Norview High School right there in Norfolk, Virginia. Um, I'll never forget though. So, a couple of times I had to go to summer school, and summer school was at Booker T High School, which is right across the street from Norfolk State. And so
Really?
that was always an experience. You would kind of hear the band playing, and you'd be like, "Man, that they got it going on over there." It's like, what is that sound? It is such a unique sound. The HBCU sound is such a unique sound. I'm like, what is that? I never saw them, but I could hear them.
Right. Right. I think so. It's funny about Norfolk State. When I was at Jackson State, we had a staff. There was like 5 of them. Now,
Mhm.
what you saw, it's a little bit different now. You saw Dr. Little, and then some of the other assistant directors, they were around, but you could tell Dr. Little was like that. He was the headband. Like you could see that.
Right.
When I was there, um, a guy named Dr. Liddell was the headband director, and he actually marched with my dad. But you also had some other assistant directors that were basically on the same tier as he was.
Okay.
And one of the directors there, Paul Adams, and I think he's retired now, but he was at Norfolk for a while.
Okay.
And now the percussion instructor, who was another assistant director there, William Bethea, he's the head band director there now at Norfolk.
Okay.
So yeah, so we definitely had the connections with Norfolk. And then it was really cool to hear them because they're definitely really good. They had some down years recently, but
Yeah.
they're really, really good again.
Good. Good.
So yeah, so shout out to William Bethea for all that he's doing. Okay, so you had that experience then. Let's talk about your college selection process. How did that go down? And where did you end up going?
Right. So I was in the military, and while in the military, I met 2 other guys, and all 3 of us are kind of from the inner city. We all knew we were going to get out of the military, and we all kind of made it an agreement, like, you know what, we're going to push each other. We're all going to graduate college. One of them had just read the book The Pact, and it's about
Wow,
three.
okay.
Yeah, he had read the pack, and he was like, "This could be us," and I was like, "You know what? It can be us." So I had actually planned on going to PV Prairie View down by Houston, but
Okay.
after we made that pact, I was like, I was getting out, but they were still in. And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
since they're still in, I'm gonna go to school close to home, close to where they are, so we all got an apartment together. I mean, we were those poor college students living on ramen noodles. So I ended up going to Central Texas College and ended up at Texas State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where is Central Texas College?
So that's right by, I was in the military, and there's a campus on Fort Hood. So right on Fort Hood,
Fort
Texas,
Hood.
Central Texas College has a junior college campus. And so I did my first 2 years there. I went to Mary Hardin Baylor and ended up at Texas State as well.
Okay, okay. So you then deciding there, um, that you were gonna go to college and all that.
Mhm.
What did you decide that you wanted to major in? And did you have any plans as far as like what you knew that you were gonna do when you finished school?
Yeah, so ironically, right when I'm graduating high school, do you remember the Exxon Valdez? It was a huge oil spill in the Alaskan Sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
And
re-
I think the guy who did his name was Joe or something like that.
yeah, I just remember watching that on TV one day, and I remember the way they cleaned it up. There is an enzyme. There is a microorganism that has an enzyme that breaks down oil. But that microorganism can't live in the frigid temperatures of the Alaskan Sound. So
Wow.
they cut the genetic code of that enzyme out of that bacteria, put it in another bacteria that could live in the Alaskan Sound, made a huge culture of it, and threw it in the Alaskan Sound. And that's how they clean up the oil. And I thought to myself, that sounds really interesting. I want to learn how to do that. So I said I wanted to be a geneticist. I got to tell you the story. I
Wow.
got to tell you the story. So I'm in school. Biology is my major. I wanted to major in biology or genetics, but Mary Hardin Baylor, which is where I ended up before I went to Texas State, they only had a biology program, so I figured I'd get a bachelor's in biology, then go get genetics. Um, I ended up getting a job in the lab at the Veterans Hospital, and we're looking under microscopes all day. We're identifying cancers. We're identifying diseases. It was awesome. I loved it. And I remember going to lunch, and I told a joke, and nobody laughed. I'm thinking to myself, I can't work around this. I can't, I love science, I love genetics, but it's like everybody was like so square. So I also love sports. And so at that point, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to go do it because I like to have too much fun. So I'm going to go teach. And if I tell a joke and my kids don't laugh, they won't pass.
Right.
But yeah, so that's really how I got into education. I wanted to go into genetics, but I didn't think that was a career that I found fulfilling because I just like to have a lot of fun. I like to talk.
Right.
And so teaching, I love kids, I love sports. So teaching and coaching, that fit me very well. So I taught anatomy and physiology and medical microbiology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. You talk about some hard subjects, man.
I
So
loved it, man. I loved it. I loved it.
okay. So that's pretty deep. You broke down the oil spill. I remember
Yeah.
it happening, and what I remember was the pilot or the person or something. I remember his name was Joe. That's
Mm.
my name because I remember something like that. But I also remember they said he might have been drinking or something like that.
Ooh.
Like it was something else that happened. It was some whole drama with it. So yeah, I
Mm.
do remember that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you also broke down as far as how they clean up the oil because I had no idea what
Yeah.
they did to clean up the oil. I know that they were always like trying to pull the animals out and trying to
Hmm.
clean them or something like that. Um, but that's pretty deep that they were putting something in the water that breaks down the oil because that
Yeah.
happened a couple times.
Yeah, it's happened several times. The ocean has a great filtration system in and of itself, but something that massive it needed some help. So yeah, there's a microorganism that creates that has an enzyme that breaks down oil, but it couldn't live there. And so it was the first I heard of genetic engineering, and I
Hmm.
was like, wow, I want to be a genetic engineer. Didn't end up that route, but I'm okay with it because I love what I do now.
Right, right. And you're right. Who knows? That was probably the universe pushing you to where you are now. How it
Right.
works.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's what's up, man. Okay. So, um, when did you finish Texas State?
So, I finished at Mayor Hardin Baylor first in 2000, um, and then I said my friends and we decided to form that pact. We're gonna push each other,
Right.
and so I got my bachelor's. We all got our bachelors, and then he decided to go get his master's. And then he said, "Hey man, you got to go get your master's." And I said, "Listen, when I was in high, now this is a true story, Joe. When I was in high school, my football coach and my guidance counselor, they both told me they said, Lamar, you are not college material. You need to go work at the
Wow.
Ford Auto Plant. That's what you ought to do. Go work at the Ford Auto Plant and
Damn.
just make parts." And I was thinking, I don't want to work at the Ford Auto Plant. So
Right.
I ended up, yeah, I joined the military. While I was in the military, there was it was the early 90s and they were really pushing enlisted soldiers to get their degrees. And the lady came by and she said, "Does anyone want to go to college?" I wanted to go to college, but I remembered my guidance counselor and my head coach had both said I'm not college material. So I
Wow.
didn't raise my hand. But there was a guy 2 rows ahead of me. He raised his hand. And I thought to myself, I know I'm smarter than him. So if he can do it, I can do it too.
Wow. So
Yep.
that's crazy, man. I have heard that story so many
Yeah.
times. And
Yeah.
hopefully, and as you know, as an educator, like professional development, hopefully there's something where they're changing that. But there are
Yeah.
so many, especially. So when did you graduate high school?
1993.
Okay, 93. Okay, that's when my sister finished. I
Yes, sir.
finished in 96.
Hmm.
But during that time, and as you know, there was always some type of guidance counselor saying that you don't need to go to school. And I'm
Yep.
sure it was kind of focused towards a certain group, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that they were
Us.
telling that to.
Yeah.
Right. But I would hear that over and over again. I know that I acted a fool when I was in high school, but my parents had postgraduate degrees and they were educators. So they weren't going to tell me that, you know what I'm saying? They were just like, you just need to kind of get your act together.
Right.
But so many of us that I've heard where they tell that to, and now most folks, have their masters, have their
Yeah.
PhD or their EDDs. So hopefully now there's a change in what
Yeah.
those guidance, because they really don't know. You know what I'm
They
saying?
don't. And my thing was, and here's the deal, Joe. I was actually making good grades. I was even taking honors courses. I have no idea. Well, I do know why. They told me because of my SAT. I didn't have
Oh
a
wow.
good. But here's the deal, Joe. The SAT was never geared toward us.
Right.
They ask questions that really don't relate to us, and then they get mad when we don't do well on it.
Right.
Just because I didn't do well on your test doesn't mean I'm not smart. I just don't know what you're asking. I can learn it. I was
Hmm.
just never introduced to it. And so they took that one test and they said, you're not college material because you didn't do good on the SAT. And I got to tell you the story, Joe. For a while, I believed them. I
Mm.
did. I believe them. I didn't apply to college. Like I said, I went to Fort Hood. They said, "Does anybody want to go?" The guy raised his hand, so I raised mine. So then I went to the guidance office. And remember, at first, the lines, now everything is online. It's so, but when
Right.
I first started, you had to wait in a long line.
Yes.
And so I get to a guidance counselor, one of the counselors, and in Texas, you have to take a test to go to college. You got to take a test. You got to pass these tests. I didn't pass those
Wow.
tests because I'm not from Texas. So she said, "Well, you got to take this other test." I took the test and didn't do well on it. So when she told me, I got up to walk out of her office. She said, "Where you going?" I said, "Well, I didn't do good on it. I forgot what it's called now." I said, "I didn't do good on that test, but you know what? They told me I wasn't college material anyway." She said, "Do you want to go to college?" I said, "Listen, my football coach and my counselor told me, so I'm not, it don't matter." She said, "Do you want to go?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Okay, no excuses. We're
Hmm.
going to put you in some remedial classes. You're going to get your skills up and you will be okay." Her name is Loria Lofton. She is one of my biggest advocates. And without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. She's a sister that just loves helping black and brown kids. And I love her to death. Again, without her, I would have walked out of that office and I may not have walked into another college admissions office if it hadn't been for a sister that said, just because you didn't do good on a test does not mean you can't do it. Let me get you the skills you need. Let me get you the resources you need, and you're gonna make this happen.
Wow, wow. And that's overall that's what they're supposed to be doing. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I'm an adjunct professor myself.
Mhm.
And one thing that I've learned in all the professional development I had is that they say you can be that teacher that tries to surprise students on what they're learning. Like, oh, did you see this? I'm gonna ask you this question. This is buried deep in the text. Let me see if you put, or you can be the teacher that says, I want them to succeed. I want them to
Yeah.
be successful. I want them to find the stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so that hit me because I mean, I was really just thinking about, okay, I need this extra money because I'm in California and it's expensive. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's totally different where you are making a difference in people's lives,
Yeah.
and that's your job. Your job is to bring folks up. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
So that's good that she said that. Um, and she did her job. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you still keep in contact with her?
I do. I do. As a matter of fact, She was at when I got my so all three of us have bachelor's degrees. Two of us have doctorate degrees, and she was at both of our graduations. As a matter of fact, I got my doctor first. When he got his, we all took a picture together, and it was just so special because we remember when we were in the military, and there was only one person that believed in us, and it was her.
Mm-hmm.
And now here it is. She has two doctors,
Right.
two black doctors. And she can say she birthed that because she's the one that wouldn't let us quit when our skill. But and here's the deal, Joe. It wasn't that we couldn't do it. Our problem was we didn't know how we learned.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we couldn't learn. Here's what I do know. I didn't learn what you sitting up there listening, looking like Charlie Brown's teacher. You know, now that I can't
Right.
learn. That is so boring. That is I was so disinterested. That's not how I learned. When I learned how I learned, I took off academically. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's where kids are now. It's not that you can't learn. You have to learn how you learn, then capitalize on your learning style to open up the opportunities that are out there.
Right, right. And so much now where, again, with the professional development, they're saying, okay, you have to find um how they're learning, how the
Mhm.
student learns. So you have to find that. So you have to go in and seek that. Um USC has this race and equity program now.
Yeah.
And so at the community colleges I am, they started to say, okay, you can get this stipend, which is one cool thing I also appreciate about state of California, where they have these things, they give you the stipend to do it. So, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Right.
Um, so then, they had this. So now what uh a lot of the community colleges are doing, they're having to make sure that your class is equitable,
Hmm.
and they take the roster for that semester of your class and they break it down by the ethnicity, and they
Hmm.
base it on how that student performed in your class.
Mm.
And so then at the end of the semester, they break down, okay, how did all the white kids do? How did all the East Asians kids do? Like all that.
Right.
And so
Hmm.
they're now saying, okay, based on this data, what do you need to change to make sure that everyone gets an A in your class?
Right.
Um,
And yeah. And it's ironic you say that. I just had this conversation just Friday with a group of my teachers. Um, one of my core beliefs is that all kids can learn at a high level. And when I say all kids, I mean kids that are going to be independent one day. If this kid is going to live by himself, now we all know there are kids who are severely handicapped, what have you. I'm not talking about them, but the reality is everybody can learn. So the issue is not can all students learn at high levels. The question is, can teachers teach at high levels? That's the
right,
question. It's not can students learn, it's can you teach? And I tell my teachers this all the time. If kids don't learn the way you teach, then teach the way they learn.
right.
We have to change if we're going to meet the, like, again, and I use myself as an example. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because I almost fell through the cracks because I didn't learn the way they were teaching. They want to sit down and lecture. If you just straight lecture me, especially back then, I was not going to do well. And it's not because I wasn't smart, it's just super boring, and I just couldn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because they're now developing more studies and they're doing more research now that every human being, even if you are a rocket scientist,
Hmm.
if you are even listening to someone talk for like more than, let's say, like 5 to 10 minutes or something, your mind naturally goes
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how smart you are.
Right.
So you definitely have to change where you're actually telling someone, or like you said, because I mean, back in the 90s, lecture was huge.
Yeah, that's all they did.
That's I mean, that was huge. Like history and all that stuff like that. You sat in lecture classes. So I remember in high school going to sleep a lot in a lot of class, especially like right after lunch. You know what I'm saying? You ate,
Ooh.
you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I just don't know what's wrong with me, why I can't stay awake. Well, okay, now we finding out, you know what I'm saying? A
Yeah.
lot of that. So that's actually really dope that you understand that, and it's good that you're an educator. So after you got your undergrad, you said, okay, one of your other partners said, okay, well, you got to go get your master's. where did you go get your master's, and what did you get your master's in?
It's a story behind that too. So I
Okay.
got my undergrad. Now listen, I'm the guy that they said, so go, man, we got to go back a little bit further to bring this
Okay.
up. When I was in high school, I lived in East Ocean View. The neighborhood is not even there anymore. They tore it down. But I was in East Ocean View. I never forget. I was in the library at my school one time. Remember, schools used to have newspapers.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it was in section B, C, whatever page it was. But I saw East, like it was like, what are we gonna do about East Ocean View? Something to that effect. So I picked it up and read it, and they said we have to do something about East Ocean View because only about 2% of the kids there graduate high school. And I
Wow.
thought to myself, wait a minute, they're right. Nobody here graduates high school. Everybody here, they go to about the ninth, 10th, maybe 11th grade. They get caught selling drugs and they go to jail.
Wow.
And you go to their mom's house and they got their little jail uniform on with either GED or diploma. And that's really that's how it went.
Wow.
I mean, that was like that was the expectation. Now, me, I was never made for jail. That's just not working for
Me
me.
neither. Me
So
neither.
you know, I'm like that is not an option for me. You know, I'm not hard. I'm not tough. I may live in a bad neighborhood, but I'm not tough. I'm not hard. I
Right.
can't fight. I'm not. You know. You
Right.
know. So so I remember saying to myself, I'm gonna graduate high school. So remember, so only 2% of the kids in my neighborhood graduated high school. So the jury was out whether I was gonna graduate or not. They told me I couldn't graduate college, and I did. So listen, when I got that bachelor's degree, I thought I made it. So when Rico, that's my friend's name, Rico, when Rico came back to me and said, "Hey man, gotta go get that master's," I'm like, Rico, bro, I made it, man. I'm the two. And then I had a pretty good coaching career. I'm coaching now. We're doing good. I'm like, Rico, I'm just gonna be a head football coach, and I'll be fine. But he kept. We had made that pact, and he said, "Nah, man, we made this. Nah, you need to do this. You need to do this." And so at that point, I was trying to decide, okay, am I going to stay in education or what do I want to do? I said, you know what? I want to be a city manager. That's what I want. I want to run a city. So I went and got an MPA, Master's of Public Administration. And that's what you get if you want to run a city, because I figured, you know what? I think I really want to make a difference. I want to establish policies. And in my area, in the low, in the low income part of my city, the pipes were rusting. There was
Wow.
feces being backed up. So I'm like, I want to be in charge. I want to make decisions that help out my people because they don't vote. And you know, your vote is your voice. If you're not voting, you
Yeah.
know, I'm starting to learn about. I'm getting politically aware. All this is happening to me, right? So I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I get that, and then I start reading more about education. Now, and then I decided to go get my principal certification. So I got one master's in public administration, then basically to go decide to go get another master's in education. And so I went to Texas State. That's when I went to Texas State. And if you ask me where I graduated from, I'll often say Texas State because I feel like Texas State really, really embraced me.
Hmm.
There are professors at UMHB that embraced me doing my bachelor's degree, but Texas State, I have a very strong relationship with my department chair, and me and her, we talk probably once a year. She helped me tremendously too. So I don't deny Mary Hardin Bailey, but Texas State is. If somebody says where'd you graduate from, I usually give them where I got my master's from, which is Texas State. But anyway, so yeah, I decided to go there. I met Dr. Sharon Shields, and you know, she took one of my writing samples and she was like, listen, she said, you understand sports, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, your writing is JV and you're trying to be in the major leagues. And it's just not, oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, she hit me hard, Joe. But she said, but I'm going to help you. And Joe, that's the story of my life, man. And to any young people listening, accept constructive criticism. If somebody comes at you with something you're not doing good, it's okay. It is okay
It's
to not
okay.
be good. It's not okay to stay not good. That's probably not proper English, but I think y'all know what I meant. It's okay to not have it together, but when help comes, let help help. And
Mhm.
if there's one thing that I've done that I think that's helped me to progress is when help came, I let help help. I listened to people what they said do, I did it, and it's worked for me. You know, it's like this. If we're gonna get from point A to point B, we need direction.
Yep.
And if you've never gotten there, then you don't have the direction. So you need to listen to someone who has the directions. And for whatever reason, man, if people said they want to help me, I've always been open to help. Even now, I try to always be open to people who can help me get better. And that's probably been one thing. If there's one thing I've done that's really helped me, it's just listening to people who tried to help me. So yeah, I went to Texas State. I got a degree in public administration, but I decided I wanted to stay in education and be a high school principal. And so I ended up going back to Texas A&M and got my principal certification.
Okay. Okay. So you got your principal certification,
Yeah,
and that's like you said, that was another master's degree.
basically. So it's the same hours of a master, but it's a certification, not a degree. So technically, I
Okay.
don't have a master's in education. I have a principal certification.
Okay. Okay. So now you have that.
Yeah.
How did you then decide to get your doctorate?
All right. So I don't know if I call myself an avid reader, but I'm definitely a reader. I'm
Okay.
big on leadership. I'm big on spiritual development. I'm big on education. So you'll always find me reading books in one of those areas. And I might buy a book and I might only read one or two chapters from that book. Honestly, if a chapter piques my interest, I'll grab it. I'll read those two chapters, and that might be it. So, like I said, I'm interested in education, and I started reading on education. Then I come across the father of American education, Horace Mann. And Joe, I realized that our education system was based on the Prussian education system, was based on the fact that Prussia, which is modern day Germany, they developed their system because they lost they lost the war. Who did they fight? Napoleon. Napoleon defeated Prussia, and Prussia said the reason we lost the war is because our soldiers think too much. They don't
Oh
just listen to
wow.
what they're told. And I'm listening to this. So I'm like, so wait a minute. Our system of education is based on indoctrinating people to think a certain way. And,
Mhm.
and, and so the more I started reading, and then I came across a guy, Johann Finch, who Johann Finch is called the father of neo-Nazism. And he said the purpose of education is to teach kids what to think, how to think, and how long to think. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I'm
Wow.
reading all this, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what. And I'm like, why don't? Wait a minute. I have a bachelor's in biology. I got a teacher certification, which is 21 hour program. Then I had a principal certification, which is like 30 or 36 hours. But I never heard about the history of education.
Yeah.
And so the more I think about it, so wait a minute, this is about and I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to critical thinking? What happened to problem solving? Because that's what I believe education is all about. I believe it's about teaching people how to think, not telling them how to think.
Right.
I think it's about presenting information, and you use the information and your intellectual capabilities and you formulate an idea and let's discuss it in an intelligent manner. That's education.
Mhm.
And so the more I listen, I'm like, wait a minute. And then I started looking at some of my classrooms. It's just a sit and get. You
Yeah.
just sit down. I tell you this in 2 weeks, you regurgitate it on the test. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. We're not gonna. And then and Joe, this is what just like did it for me. So everybody got a K-8 education, and then the quote unquote aristocratic group, they were able to go to private school, which is really secondary school, and
Right.
they were taught to lead the commoners. And I'm like, wait a minute, my people, we're the commoners. So the education system is not set up for us to win; it's set up for us to work. It
Mhm.
was never set up for kids. It's not about the good of the kid, it's the good of the country. And so I'm thinking, I got to make a difference. And I want to tell my teachers, you teach kids how to problem solve, you teach kids how to think critically, you teach kids how to formulate their own opinion, even if their opinion is different than yours. You
Mhm.
you tap into their learning style, even if it's not your teaching style. And so that's kind of what pushed me into education or educational leadership rather.
Okay. Okay. So then, where did you go get your doctorate? Did you go to Texas State again, or were you still in Texas?
I was.
Okay.
By the way, in this story, I got to point out that I applied to UT Austin, and they denied me admission. And I've always said they are going to remember my name one day.
Mhm.
One day they're going to say we should have let Lamar Collins in, but UT Austin did not let me in. Texas State did. But anyway, um, when it came time to pick a program, I was looking at I looked at Baylor University, but Mary Hardin Baylor. I had developed a relationship with one of my professors, Clipper Foster, who is a mentor of mine even to this day. And she actually pulled me to the side and said, Lamar, you need to go get your doc. I would come in an adjunct, not adjunct, but I would be a guest speaker in her classes. So she
Okay.
taught a lot of classes on coaching philosophy, the philosophy of leadership. And she'd have me come in and just talk about leadership. She'd have me come in and talk about the philosophy of coaching. So she'd have me do those kind of things. And in one of our conversations, she said, Lamar, you should go get your doctorate degree. And you do know that UMHB has an EDD program now. It's a 3-year program, and the dissertation is embedded in the program. So if you
Wow.
execute if you execute the program with fidelity, when you finish your classwork, you'll almost be finished your dissertation.
Wow.
So,
I didn't
because
even
yeah,
know programs did that.
well, how many people are ABD, all but dissertation?
Right.
They do all the classwork, yeah, and then they
Right.
get told, okay, go on your way, finish the dissertation, and come back. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. But when she told me about it, I went and looked into it. I'm like, you know what? I knew what I wanted to do my dissertation on, so I'm like, okay, you know what, this will work. And so yeah, I went back to UMHB. I completed my dissertation, and yeah, um, that's the story, man. And that next semester, I got picked up as a principal, and the rest is history, as they say.
Okay. What year was that when you finished your
Was it
doctorate?
2018? I finished my doctorate. It was 2014 to 2018.
Okay. Okay. So you finished your doctorate now. Um, you actually did a really good job of explaining a lot that the purpose of this podcast is.
Okay,
Um, it's of course about the band because I was in the band, and
right,
most of our first um we had the 90-degree show, and most of our episodes it was about the band.
right.
And that's how I got into college. My parents are educators, and I knew I was going to college,
Mhm.
but I wasn't really tripping on college. I was tripping about marching in the
The
band.
band.
Like, that
so
was that was what I
so
wanted to do.
so you went to college to play in the band and got a degree on the side.
Right, exactly, exactly. And the reason why I got a degree on the side is because they said, well, you realize you can't march in the band unless you go to class, unless you do well in class.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, okay.
yeah,
And then everything, honestly, man, like as far as pledging and as far as just doing everything, you gotta have at least, because they made those standards like 2.5 and 2.75, and you gotta actually do something to do something. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So you go out there, you go to class, but then if you want to pledge or if you want to be a part of something, they gonna be saying, well, what's your GPA? Like, you know what I'm saying? So eventually, what caught on for me when you talked about like Black excellence and all that, I started seeing people just like us say, oh, I'm going to law school next year, or
Mm,
I'm going to medical school next year. Like I started seeing people doing stuff. I was like, damn, that's dope. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're excelling and all of that. And so then that's what kind of like finally got me in gear
that's
and
awesome.
pushed me out. And so I say that because a lot of what you're talking about as far as teachers, you find how the student learns. And then kids, hey, it's okay if someone tells you you're not, or taking that criticism. All of those tools and virtues
Mhm.
that you're talking about is how I started the Marching Podcast. Because of course the band will get you in, like that's kind of, but eventually, like we talk to people like you, where you're actually saying, okay, this is the next step in your development. You then have to become a productive citizen in
Yeah.
this world, and that's how you do it. So I appreciate the stories that you told, and so that's the whole focus of what we're trying to do here. So you should be commended on that. So the next thing then you have uh and I heard you say that you started to become a principal after your doc. How did your next step in the professional story of your life? You now got your doctorate. Where did
Yeah.
you then become a principal?
So that story is interesting too because I was always told that I wouldn't be an administrator because the way you dress or the way you act. I don't know how a principal acts. I don't. But whatever it is, I wasn't it. Whatever that means.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was told that, and so I actually tried to change. I tried to change. I tried to be more button up and more conservative in the way I acted, but that wasn't me, and I wasn't having fun. And I said, all I can be is me. And if I don't get a chance being, I would rather be a teacher and a coach or an assistant principal being me than be a fake principal and do your thing. And so, you know what's crazy? The doors started opening at the PWIs, the primarily white schools.
Really? Right.
They opened like there was a school. Now, one thing I learned, like when I talk about the fact of, if kids don't learn the way you teach the way they learn, I became a strong instructional leader, but that's because of a guy named Bobby Ott. He made me become a strong instructional leader. I really understood instruction. So there was a school in Texas, in Robinson, Texas. About as country can get. But they wanted to build culture and they wanted to build their instructional practices. And they was like, this dude has like so much energy, and he really understands instruction. So I was the only black person in the school.
Wow.
Me and my son. So that's a stretch. There may have been 10 of us. There may have been 10. Out of about 800 people, there may have been, wait, no, five. 5 or 6. I don't know. It was a small number. But anyway, what um did you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, look, we kind of blacked out there for a second.
Are
But
we
you okay
good?
now? You're okay now. Can you hear me? Oh man. They done
Let's
infiltrated
see.
us.
Come on, come on, come on. Come back.
Can you hear me? All right, hold on.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you see me?
Yeah. Everything's good. I can hear and I can see you. But I guess you can't hear me though. All right. So we having a little technical difficulty, but it was getting good. You see, the people they tried to come in and they tried to change what's going on. All right, here he back. Hold on, let's see if we. All right, you still there?
I'm here, man. I'm here.
Okay. All right.
They can't stop this. This ain't stopping. This ain't stopping. This ain't
All
stopping.
right.
You know.
We got to get a little round of applause for that one there.
Man, I'm trying. Wait, where was I at? I don't even know where I was at.
So you said at Robinson, Texas last day
Oh,
it was about 5. It was about 5 of us around.
yeah, it wasn't like, but you know what? They gave me love, and I gave them love, and that's when I realized, for the most part, if you love people, they'll love you. Now, is there prejudice out there? Absolutely. Uh, but a lot of Robinson, I have nothing but good to say about Robinson. I did leave on good terms, but I have nothing good to say about Robinson. Then I got offered a job by a school in California, and this school was a very affluent school. This school was that wine went grape field, what did they call them?
The
Uh,
Napa Valley.
so it was in Sonoma Valley.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? They showed me straight love too. It was now there were some people there that hated on the fact that, this brother here, but for the most part, they showed me straight love. Then I went to another primarily white school in Oroville, California, another primarily white, straight
Wow.
country. But I always wanted to give back to my people. I always wanted to help people that look like me. So when Inglewood came open, I applied for Inglewood and I got it. And listen, it's tremendous. It's a tremendous challenge. When I took over Inglewood, it was one of the worst performing schools in the state of California. Yeah, and it
What?
is what it is. I'm not running from that. I own that. That's my data net. I'm the principal now. I own that data. That's where we are, but that's not where we're going to stay. I'm putting processes in place. I'm putting protocols in place. We're giving professional development. We're learning how kids learn. We're capitalizing on their learning styles. We're differentiating instructions, and we will see our scores improve. We will see our students succeed, and that's just the way it is.
Okay. So when you say that, I didn't know that, but
Mhm.
you from the 90s, so I'm sure you remember Lean on Me with Joe Clark. Well, Morgan Freeman. Man, that was one of my favorite movies. Of course, because all
Mine
the
too.
social commentary.
Yes,
But
yes.
my parents were educators.
Educators, yeah.
So I remember, and I'm sure you remember, the actual Joe Clark. He had made the news,
Mm,
and when he came out there with that bat, that
yeah,
was on like magazines. Like that had went, like for us, that was viral. It wasn't
yeah.
the internet. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, 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 right.
So I remember that, and that's immediately what I thought about because, of course, in the movie, they're trying to, they were trying to again talk about those state testing scores and
Yeah.
all that stuff like that. Um, so that then leads to my next question, and that's why I was so appreciative of Inglewood High School. For one, there was a guy that marched with me, Daryl. I don't know if you met him, but he was there. He played trombone with me in the boom back in the 90s, and he was from Inglewood High School.
Uh,
I hadn't seen him in like 20 plus years,
yeah.
man.
Hmm.
And when I was there at the high school, I saw him walking over there, and I was like, I even forgot he existed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you are from California. Cause I remember him being from California. Cause I
Yeah.
was thinking, damn, you from California? Like that's far. And you came to Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah. And he said, yeah, this is my high school. He said, I went to Inglewood. And I was like, wow, that was like mind blowing. And he's actually still in Jackson, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's doing well. But I saw him there, and it totally tripped me out. And so that's actually another question that I have for you was, and you kind of brought it up a little bit. What has been your experience so far as a principal? Have you had any challenges? But and then of course I was going to ask you what I usually ask people is like, what's your most memorable experience marching in the band or so? Have you had a memorable experience so far since you've been the principal?
Oh, I've had many memorable with the band, but let me deal with the challenges, then the memorable experience with the band.
Okay.
So some of the challenges, some of my kids don't believe in themselves. And so what
Wow.
I tell them is, and here's what I say, and I actually this is what I say. Listen, I'm a doctor. I know what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you you can do it. So if you don't believe in you, believe in my belief in you
Mm,
until you believe in you. Because I'm telling you you can do it. And I know what I'm talking about. So if you don't believe in you, believe in my belief in you until you develop a belief in yourself. And I'm also challenging our teachers to build these kids up. Our kids deal with some tremendous challenges, which
mhm.
and it's not exclusive to Inglewood. We're living in tumultuous times. We really are. There are tremendous challenges everywhere, and no one's immune from it. And we're all just trying to deal with it the best we can. Excuse me. And I found that an abundance of love and grace works wonders. And so I give my kids an abundance of love and abundance of grace, high expectations, the support they need, and then hold them accountable.
Wow,
And
that's
I've
really
just
cool.
yeah, but I found if you love people, if you and my love is genuine and they know it, it's not what I say, is what I do every day. I mean, if you come to my school most days, you'll see me outside of the gate, fist bumping people, welcoming them into on the campus. Good morning, sir. I'm glad you're here. Because I want them to know I'm glad they're here. I want them to know I care. I want to help start their day because some of our kids, they didn't have a good morning. Their
Right,
mom cussed them out this morning. So when they
right,
get here, I want them to see something positive. And that positive thing they see is going to be me. And I'm going to greet them with a smile. I'm going to greet them with some positive affirmation. We're going to start this day off right. I'm going to set high expectations. You need to go to class. You need to pay attention. I'm going to give them the support they need. I'm going to teach teachers how to teach the different learning styles. We're not just going to lecture for 40 minutes and think kids are going to get it. No, we're going to
right,
differentiate. We're going to get kids up. They're going to be moving. We're going to do different things. And I'm going to hold everybody accountable. Everybody. I'm holding teachers accountable. I'm holding students accountable. I'm holding parents accountable. I'm holding myself accountable. And the great thing about Inglewood, I have a district office that holds me accountable.
mhm.
Bernadette Lucas, Ujima, Hosea Jamie, those are my leaders, and they hold me accountable. And so, and they give me support. So when you put all this together, it opens the door for progress. and that's what I want, man. I want to see my kids do great, and I won't stop until they do.
So that's excellent what you said. But I think what's special about it is what you said earlier, that you didn't look like a principal.
Yeah,
That's probably the issue in itself, someone's idea of what a principal is. Because
yeah,
I'm thinking a lot of times it's like some type of rigid thing, like, okay, well, he looks like unapproachable, or like he looks like he's some like administrator or something like that. That's not what students need.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They definitely need the leader of their school coming in there, like you say, hey, let's have a good day, actually pushing them. Because I personally believe that's what's gonna make them say, you know what, I could actually be a principal, or I could go to
Hmm.
college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, how many principals come to school in Jordans? I mean, some do, some do. Don't get me wrong, but I got Jordans, Air Force. That's. But and here's what I found, that they can relate to that, and oftentimes that's a conversation starter.
It is. It is.
And so now we're building relationships, and kids perform for people they like.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to like me, but I'd rather you like me. I mean, you're gonna respect me. That the main thing is respect, but I would like for you to like me.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to present myself in such a way that you feel like you can approach me. I want you to feel like you can come to me. I do. I want you to know that I am your principal. You're not here for me. I'm here for you. And for me, my job as principal, that means I am the lead servant. I serve everybody. When it comes to service, I'm the primary one that has to set the example, because that is my number one job, to make sure everyone has what they need to succeed. I'm the number one servant on this campus.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so what would you say now then uh is your most memorable experience then?
Memorable experience. Okay,
Yeah.
there are a couple, right? Now for the first one, I wasn't there. I was actually going on a cruise. My band performed for Snoop Dogg. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and I
Wow.
missed it because I was going on a cruise. It was like right at the Christmas break, and I left the next day. The day they were performing for Snoop Dogg, I was getting on the plane going to cruise. Uh, but what I love is just, there's so many, but honestly, I love practice, man. I love to go see those kids do something they're passionate about. But the memorable moment had to be when we played at halftime at the LA Rams Seattle Seahawks game.
Okay.
My kids are playing in front of 69,000 fans, and I'm on the sideline watching them, and they doing their thing, and they killing it. They killing it. And I'm like, hey, they threw some Jackson State stuff in there too.
Oh, nice.
They did. They did.
Nice.
Because look, when they finished, I was like, I've never seen y'all do that. Oh, we got that from Jackson State last week. I was like, okay,
Nice.
okay, yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
that was just recent that they just played.
yeah. So after y'all came, which is about what? It was
It's
three
about
weeks,
two
2 or 3
weeks
weeks
ago.
ago.
No, 2 weeks ago now. Yeah.
Okay, so last week they were at Cowboy, not Cowboy. They were at SoFi playing for the Rams at halftime. And
Wow.
yeah, for them to do that thing, and man, to see them come off after the performance and just the joy they had, man, that's why I do what I do. To see how excited they were, to know they had killed it, and for everybody to be giving them high five and then man, that's what high school is about, man. And
Right.
that's what makes a place like Inglewood so great. You can't do that everywhere. Everywhere doesn't have that capacity. I mean,
That's
you
right.
can't play for Snoop Dogg you can't play for the Rams everywhere. You can't have Jackson State come talk to you everywhere. But that's what makes a place like Inglewood so special. That you have all these opportunities to do these great things. So yeah, seeing my band play at halftime and kill it and throw some of that boom stuff in there. Oh yeah, that's what's up.
That's cool. That's actually really cool. It was good to see you guys perform, but then probably my favorite time was the students actually going out there with the boom and playing with the boom.
They
Um,
loved it.
I thought that was super dope because that was very similar to how we learn our what people call our riffs or fanfare. So at a lot of
Mm,
times at games, the trumpet section will stand up and they'll play something.
yeah,
The trombone section will play something like, well, we do that like in our sectionals, but like a lot of times it's not written down. And so you actually are telling the part to that particular student.
yeah,
So they did the same thing with talking out the side of your neck, which is like HBCU like theme song for all the bands.
yeah, yeah,
And so they taught them neck, or mostly people just say neck. So they taught them neck. And so then they went out there, and then the section leader, each section they came out there, you went to your section and they taught that. I thought that was the best thing because that's immediately how it's going to be at the next level.
mm,
Like when you learn a song, because like when you learn some songs, you're going to get the printout of the sheet and you'll have to sight read or you have to do all that stuff and then you put it together. But a lot of times, your section leader or one of the upperclassmen are going to come over and teach you something as a freshman. And then, you're supposed to learn it and you pick it up. So I thought that was really special that they got a chance to do that. And then they got to play. But it was also cool to see the dancers out there. I always be
yes,
forgetting about the dance, but then the dancers was going out there and then they was, teaching them something. So that was probably my favorite part,
yeah,
to see that. I'm so thankful that I was able to see it.
yeah,
Um, the alumni association stepped in and they said, okay, well, we're going to help. And then I got to serve them lunch and do all of that. And so
yeah,
when we knew we were going to be at Inglewood High School, I got in a hotel room, like right down the street. And so, they practiced on that Saturday. And then the next Sunday, that Sunday, they came back to Inglewood.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then that's when I actually talked to you on that Sunday. And so I was just really thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you guys for,
Man,
allowing the Boom their practice time there because they did a good job. But it was really, really cool to do that. And then, of course, we got a chance to go to the parade
yeah,
on Wednesday. That was really special. So I just had to give Inglewood their props, man. You guys really
appreciate that.
showed up. You guys showed up for the Boom, but you actually also showed up for me as an alumni.
Yeah,
I was able to come to your school. I was actually able to see my band. I hadn't heard. So series is the cadence that Jackson State marches to. And
okay.
it's about like 20 minutes long. And it was written by one of our former directors, Edward Duplessis.
Hmm.
And I hadn't heard series live and in person in more than 20 years, man.
Oh, that was
So,
good, huh?
oh man, like just to hear it was great because I mean, as you know, you from Virginia,
Yeah,
you come out here, you don't really know how much it is to travel going back east until you get here. You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying? You start living here. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come back or I'll fly back. And then it's not that easy.
yeah, yeah.
Because my family, my mom's side of the family, they're in North Carolina.
Mhm.
So, talking to them and being 3 hours behind and all of that stuff, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah,
so I'm really happy. And I wanted to say thank you, man, for what you did and all
yeah,
to make that possible because it was really special for all of us alumni that's out here in California. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I appreciate that. And then definitely we're gonna check out the Honda. I mean, the Boom ain't gonna be there.
I know, I know,
But
I
but
know.
it's that's what you gotta say. Oh, okay, it's HBC love. HBCU look like, but I was like, damn, I wanted us to be at the Honda. But one of
Y'all
our
can't have
main
everything, man. Y'all can't have everything.
I know, right? I know,
Y'all got to
right?
share the wealth.
Right, right. But definitely one of our main rivals, Southern, is gonna be there.
Yeah,
And they're really good. Southern's good. North Carolina A&T is gonna be there. They're really good.
yeah.
And my grandfather actually went to North Carolina A&T.
Okay,
So it's gonna be a good performance. And so now I'm thinking about, what, we need to have some of those high school students up there
man.
experiencing that. So I'm definitely going to put that together, and then I'm actually going to probably reach out to you after this
Okay.
about trying to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Um, so we're getting towards the end of the interview, man. And again, I really appreciate your time. I'm glad I met you. I'm glad I met a contact. Because like I said, I think it would also be good if we did the National Signing Day there at Inglewood High School
Let's do it.
and try to, make some things happen with that. Even if they don't go march at a HBCU, the fact that they're going to march in college is
Hmm.
overall, because band is band at the end of the day. So, we definitely want to celebrate that. Um, so we're getting to the end. You have given lots of inspiring quotes, lots of inspiring things in this interview. Is there any advice that you would give to any students, teachers, anything out there as far as your passions and the things that you want to promote in your position?
Yeah, man. I would say continue to believe in yourself, and continue to believe in the people that believe in you. Again, I think one reason I got where I am is because I wasn't afraid of constructive criticism. We live in a day and time when someone tells you something that you could do better or do different. I mean, if somebody's coming to you in love and they're giving you some good advice, even if you don't like it, listen, 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 listen. There are people that really do want to help you. Don't let your pride get in the way of your
Mm,
progress.
mm,
I'm going to say that again. Don't let your pride get in the way of your progress. When someone gives you constructive criticism, say thank you. Because most people, they would know what you need to hear and won't say it because they don't want to deal with
yeah,
the drama. They
right.
like, I'm not even, because you might get, they don't want to offend you. If some, ooh, okay, I got to give you this real quick. There are four types of relationships. There are enemies. They don't like you. You don't like them. They know it. There are friends. A friend loves you enough to look beyond your needs. There are frenemies. Frenemies are people that like you, but when you hang around them, you keep finding yourself getting in messed up situations. Stay away from frenemies. Yeah. Then you have mentors. Friends accept you the way you are. Mentors, they love you too much to leave you the way you are. And
Wow.
so they will come with constructive criticism. And oftentimes, these become contentious relationships until we mature and realize, wait a minute, what you said is what I needed to hear. So here's what I'm saying: find yourself a mentor and listen to everything he or she says. And I don't care if that mentor is white, black, brown, polka dot, or purple. If they can help you, listen.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Let me go and give you a round of applause on that one.
Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Talking about uh the the frenemies,
Mm-hmm.
but also too your friends, because this happens way too much. They scared to tell you what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's so many situations. And then after the fact, and this connects when you talk about constructive criticism. Sometimes you'll look back and you say, "Man, why didn't so and so tell me that? That's supposed to be my boy," or something like that. But at the same time, they like, "Man, I couldn't," or for whatever reason they couldn't.
Yeah.
That's a tough situation. So
Yeah.
I think what's important, like you said, those mentors are the ones that are going to tell you, okay, this is how you are, but you
Mm.
need to be here.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Yeah.
But man, you done dropped some knowledge, but some really good jewels. And so Inglewood is definitely better with you there as principal. And so I'm happy that you're there. But also too, man, it's crazy how life is. You go through so much stuff, but then it ends up preparing you for whatever job or whatever position that you in later on. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited for you being there at Inglewood High School and helping out there. And so I'm glad I also have another connect there as far as bands are concerned, because the whole HBCU culture and bands, it's not prevalent out here, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, Years ago, I met the band director at Centennial High School, but I don't know if he's still there. I have to reach out to him again, if so.
Mhm.
But then there was another one, I believe, at Crenshaw High School. His name
Mm,
was Hutchison, and he went to Grambling, but
mm.
I don't think he's still there. I mean, this was years ago when I
No,
met him.
Hutchinson, he was here. Hutchinson was here.
Oh,
That
at
was he was
Inglewood.
Inglewood. Yeah, Hutchinson is an Inglewood legend.
Oh, so he was at
Yeah,
Inglewood. Okay, so he was at
yeah.
Inglewood.
He was
Okay,
at Inglewood. Yeah,
so he's retired now.
he's retired. Yeah, but he is
Okay,
a legend around these parts. Oh yeah.
okay. So the band director now, he looked super young. Cause I'm about to say I didn't see no gray hairs or nothing like that. I don't know. How
How
long
you
has
a
he
band
been there?
director with no gray hair?
That's what I'm saying. Like, right, right. How long has he been there?
So I think he's been there two. I just got here last November,
Right, right.
and he got here about a year before me. He got
Okay,
here right after COVID, so maybe 3 years. He may have been here 3 years. He may be here three. He may be going on his third year. Yeah,
okay, okay. All right. Well, definitely we got some stuff to talk about, man. Cause yeah, I
absolutely.
definitely think talking about how things are supposed to be, we need to have some spaces open for some of these students.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
to go to so they can experience that. um Again, it's good they experience, but I'm gonna still say, well, Jackson State better than that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna probably slide that in there here and there, you know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't
um
expect nothing else from you. Nothing
right,
else.
right. I also saw that they're supposed to have like a college expo thing before.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll be in touch, man.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
definitely talk. We definitely make that happen for some of those students. So again, let me give you another round of applause here.
Thank you, brother.
Really happy that you decided to do the show. I'm glad that I met you and made a good contact here for the future going forward. So as we land the show, man, anything that you want to say to sign off?
Hey man, I just want to thank you for inviting me. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for putting good content over the airways. There's so much garbage over the airways. We need people like you. No, for real. We
Yeah.
need people to put good content out there. So thank you for doing what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. You making a difference. And anytime you're in Inglewood, man, stop by. Let's holler. Let's chop it up.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Again, we chopped it up with the one and only Dr. Lamar Collins, and we appreciate you for what you're doing. We definitely wish you luck and much success and good vibes there as the principal of Inglewood High School. So that's our show. Remember, if you guys are interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, reach out to us, and we will, promote your business using our platform. You guys saw that. I'll give you a little example here. We did some of the flagging of the brands here. We'll do the same for your business, and then also too in our main screen. We have the ticker down below. We'll also help to promote your business. Just reach out to us, and we'll help you get to where you want to go. And we appreciate your support and love. That's all the time we have for the show. Again, we want to appreciate and thank Dr. Collins for his time. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, any platform you see the Marching Podcast. We're in so many different places. I used to list them all, but now I don't want to do all of that. But just, hey, you can Google the Marching Podcast, and that'll pretty much take you anywhere you go. But definitely check out our website, themarchingpodcast.com. Follow us anywhere you can. Check out our merch store, because a lot of those proceeds go to help the students for National Signing Day, which we will have this spring, helping to sending them off to college and also giving them support to keep them there at college and to see that see them graduate. We actually have 2 students that I've actually talked to that are going to be graduating this spring that were on our show 4 years ago. And so we're really excited about talking to them, and we want the same for you as our students as well. So again, thanks again for your love and support. Always remember the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next
Ooh,
time.
love you, brother.
Thanks, man. Love you too, man. I appreciate it.